Hi, Renee.
Hi, Elmer. How are you doing?
I am, I'm doing okay. How are you
Hanging
doing?
in, hanging in there.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. But I think we all know there's a lot going on in this world right now that needs a lot of work.
That is a truth and a fact. So let's just put it out there. You and I we had a great time talking. What feels like years ago, but was actually maybe a week and a half ago, and uh,
There's
we
a
had
three,
a lovely conversation that feels like it was the wrong thing to present now.
yeah, I think it was about 3 weeks ago. So yeah, it was before major incident with George Floyd, and then just felt like it would be not acknowledging the seismic change that you know we should be seeing that needs attention. To me, I know it was a wake up call to say, wow, here's where we are in our country, and there's a lot more going on that I need to realize and need to be more active on. And I think a lot of leaders I'm talking to feel the same way.
When we started these podcast conversations, our intention as staff was to give access to GMC members to the wisdom, to the management counsel, the leadership advice of their peers. It was also about providing the unique perspective that their peers would offer from their distinct industries and so on. I think even with the seismic changes in our country and in our world, I would love to still tap into your brain for the same reasons. So, given all of that, how are you leading your organization through what I would consider the most difficult period of crisis and reflection that many of us have seen in a lifetime?
Yeah, so I've heard the triple pandemic and the quadruple pandemic. So I heard first from Mike Lovell about, we got a triple pandemic, we got healthcare, economic, and now we've got, race discrimination. And then just on Monday, the GMC from the leader from American Family heard about, leadership, a crisis as well. So I think certainly, starting with the COVID crisis, it was really important to just be led by how do we keep on our mission? How do we keep serving students in a time where certainly healthcare providers, which we focus on, are more needed than ever, as well as we serve people in business, IT, and public safety. So all those fields were needed, and we had to be creative and roll up our sleeves. And luckily, we have a lot of online capabilities so that we could progress our students. So I think that was, fortunately, we started looking ahead in January, hearing what was going on in the world and kind of playing it out and got ready for virtual transition, and again, had a lot of online capabilities already, 60% of our students online, 40% on campus, but in very hands-on things. And then had our staff ready to go virtual as well. So felt fortunate from the setup, and then just did a lot of rolling up the sleeves as everybody did to convert that. So that went well. I think the one where I felt just more like, hey, have I positioned our organization well, at least internally, was with the terrible incidents happening in racial discrimination and just violence against Black population in our country that are coming from systemic areas and in areas like our law enforcement, where I see them as protectors. Other people have them as a reason to be feared of, but it was interesting balance having to give a graduation speech to our students who are 50% minority and to police officers who we educate to get their higher degrees. And we still need our police force. There's many good people in the police force, but we need our system to be working for us, and we need anyone who's not that's not appropriate for them to be not in that position and need a whole bunch of change. So I don't have the answers. That's where I raised my hand and just said, I'm a beginner.
Yeah.
I'm a leader and I'm a beginner, and I'm a educator and I'm a learner. And I think we're all wearing a lot of hats right now. And the best thing we can do is be really honest about that what role we're in. And in that one, I feel like I'm the learner and I'm the beginner, and my children are educating me, and my staff are educating me, and my students are educating me, and I've been on a lot of phone calls, and it's actually been incredibly exciting. And I think if we embrace it as, for those of us who feel like I do, this is really learning and growth for us, and growth about my role and how I can use it even more impactfully.
You know, one of the things we've heard from so many leaders is they've had difficult conversations with their staff. And I wonder what your advice or your experience has been creating those moments and making sure that you can be not only a participant, but an effective listener and I guess actually a guide for your staff trying to navigate this moment.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, that's where I'm learning. My big thing is when you don't know, get help. You know, so I think just being humble as a leader, we're people. I tell my people, I'm a human. Like, I've got strengths and weaknesses. I've got my blind spots, you know, so figure out where they are and get help and reach out to those who have more expertise in facilitating those conversations. I know we had an annual meeting back in February for diversity and inclusion efforts and brought in some great resources who conducted a great session. And I wouldn't be able to do that myself, but there's certainly organizations that do that, or you have your own staff who have experiences to share. But I think for facilitation, to get the most out of it, you need somebody who's really good at facilitating and bringing out those tough discussions, because they are tough, and setting up the right atmosphere. And I think as leaders, you know, we get the right people who can do that. And for us, we're the sponsor and we're the supporter, and we're saying this needs to happen and this is good. And even when the tough discussions come and it seems tense, to be saying this is good, this is what we need. As I think in our culture, at least, how many of us were brought up was, oh, shy away from disagreement, be polite. If you, you know, a lot of white cultures, oh, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. You know, and that doesn't serve us well to get through problems. And I know for myself, I have to lean more into that. And then when in doubt, I absolutely agree. Listen. Your job is just to listen. If somebody has something, and you don't have to respond, you don't have to have an answer. People need to be able to express themselves. And I've just had in my head the kind of phrase, open heart, open mind. You know, we have to have open hearts, we have to have open minds. And, you know, respect people for who they are, love them for who they are. I think every person you can find something to love in, and then you respect their opinion, have your mind open, don't be fixed on your response or what you want to say, just listen to what they're saying and turn it over in your mind, put on a different hat, put on a different experience. And that can be really exciting, and really, it feels great as a growth moment to be progressing, you know, for yourself as an individual. And through that, that's how you can help more people.
So I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot.
Sure.
One of the things that I've seen recently was a Facebook post, and it happened to be a picture of a white man, and I believe he was in Shorewood, and in the picture he's alone and he's holding a protest sign, and his sign says, "I finally get it." And yeah, for so many folks, this moment represents a moment of awakening. It's their, oh, I finally get it moment. So here's where I'm going to put you on the spot. What have you heard? What have you seen? What have you maybe even experienced that you think could be helpful for those who still aren't getting it to maybe get it now?
Well, I mean, anyone who doesn't get it, I think just watching the video, you know, you can read about the George Floyd killing, murder, you know, even execution, if that's the right word, because it was conducted by people in authority. It was just so shocking that if you haven't watched the video, you need to watch the video. Now, if you come away watching that video and saying, I don't get it, I don't know, that's where I kind of
Mm.
You know, that is just so, again, reading about things or hearing things explained, and you know, sometimes between police and what happened, it's hard, you know, you're not there, what are all the, getting all the facts, but just watching something that has been filmed, I think is why a lot of people are going, oh my gosh, this is just, there's zero ambiguity. There's just, you know, people calling, we train EMTs, so that EMT calling out saying, he's not breathing, tell me he's breathing, tell me his pulse. I'm like, you know, I saw my students in that we trained to do that, to check on people's vital signs. And it's just incredible. So, I mean, I think that's first is we got to watch some things firsthand and try and live them. I think the next step is put your son on the ground under the knee or your daughter, you know, really feel that, reverse whatever you need to do to feel it. Okay, my kid's down there, my kid's screaming mama. You know, if you don't feel that, you know, I don't know, but if you put yourself there, I don't know who doesn't feel that, because I can't, as you say, talk about it without getting really upset and going, nobody, that just shouldn't be happening anywhere. And you know, there's a lot of, and we know there's a lot happening we don't see in all different areas, right? But just, I think that's why people go, this is a seminal moment that we have to all get really serious about and put ourselves there and do whatever we can in our power. And you know, I read a Barack Obama point. He's like, we can't stop evil in the world, but we can affect each of our interactions. We can choose how we interact with each other. And I think that's, we all got to come back to our space. What do we influence? And as leaders, we influence a lot more. You know, we have our daily interactions, we have how we lead and within our company, and then we have how our organizations can affect in their mission the whole world. So those are the three circles I see. But it starts with your mindset. You gotta feel it. You gotta feel it, and you gotta say, and then go to the mental leap of, it's there, and there's so much happening I don't see, and I've got to use my three circles to be on the positive side of change.
I would love for you to speak a little bit more on that. One of the challenges of those of us with any leadership authority, one of our challenges is navigating being a person who's a part of a community, also being the leader of an initiative, of an organization, and just navigating how to use those influences distinctly, but also how to convene them. How do you think about that? Because you can't be, as a college president, you can't necessarily say everything that you would as a parent, as a neighbor. How do you manage those distinctions?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, that's what I think I'm learning in it. I think, again, you have to create spaces. Like, as leaders, we don't always have to be there to have things be happening, like at least starting internally with an organization. I think it's structural of how do you create safe spaces? How do you create the culture of open heart, open mind? You have to start with your own example. Going back to the three circles, it starts with you as a person and how you act and not react to things, and setting the example. Then you can set up the spaces for the dialogue, for the idea of we're all educating ourselves all the time. Certainly just the tenet of respect. We've had that as a core value, which I'm sure many people do, but I believe we have great examples of how we live that. And it's true in our organization, and it resonates with people coming from a place of respect. So that's, as a leader, you have to set up all those, you know, obviously your values and the example. Then I think it does come to some things. How do you set up resource groups for people? How do you set up good dialogue and forums for that, where people feel heard and respected and can come at it in an open mind? And that, you know, is what we've done some of before, but I see that we need more work internally. And then what I always go to, which just where my mind always goes, is action. Like, what can we do externally in the world and move things? And so I think even more about what we do in education. We do have a high minority population. Just being sure we're doing a great job in that. How do we be even more effective, more impactful, access more people, and be sure their outcomes are, you know, better and better? And then also, how do we help other groups that are related to our mission? And we have Wendy Bauman on our board from WIBIC that we support. I'm a trustee in the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, there's great groups that were directly impacted by these events. They serve those populations. And how can we use what are we great in competencies, like our digital competencies, and how do we help other organizations, especially in this time with COVID? How do we help organizations that are serving minority communities through our digital capabilities to be effective in this time? Because that's kind of bringing it all together. We know that the triple or quadruple pandemic has hit worst in the most needed populations. The most needy populations are getting sick more from COVID, are getting more economically impacted because they're in those frontline jobs that have often now been furloughed or laid off, and they're most often minorities. It's a triple, if not quadruple effect. So that's how I think about it, is how can we use our competencies to help those groups who are serving the most needed populations.
So here we are, we have another opportunity, which I'm grateful for, to just spend some time with you and hear you process, hear you sort of reflect on how you've made choices during both COVID, during this moment of uprising. I wonder, again, you have this private audience with our GMC membership and our GMC team and our community. What's the thing that you would most love for all of us to hear, all of us to understand or do?
These are tough questions, Homer. All of us to do. I think I would go back to being really open with each other and just open to the dialogue on any of it. And I think GMC is a great place for that, but sometimes there's we're all so busy and we have to move quickly, and an interesting dialogue will start and then it kind of gets, there's either not the forum for it, or people are busy, or it seems like it's a tough discussion and maybe we get uncomfortable with it. So I think we have to get a little more comfortable being uncomfortable and pushing each other and pushing on things that are not changing fast enough. And sometimes I think we have to get okay with saying things that are unpopular. I think some of the problems we're getting into is people are feeling things and they don't want to say it because maybe it's wrong. And I don't know how we get to solutions if people don't really put it all on the table. So I think the GMC is in a great position to create that forum and atmosphere. It has a convening power to really say, we got to get it out on the table. And I thought the last GMC meeting was great for that, and say more of it.
So getting towards the closing parts of our conversation, I've often ended these podcasts asking folks what they're reading and watching and so on. And I want to still make room for all of us to share what we're doing to take good care of ourselves. So I'm going to ask again, we talked last time about, which folks haven't seen yet, but we talked about your band, we talked about the kind of music that you all make. What's the song in your heart or in your rehearsal room that is worth us hearing about right now?
Oh boy. So, certainly music is therapy. I'd say, songs that came to my mind is, I love the Border song by Elton John. So I've been singing that lately, because if you know the last line, it's, "He's my brother, let us live in peace." It's a beautiful song. I've listened to it, and Aretha Franklin did a version of it because she loved it so much. And actually that sprung Elton John to fame. So that's a beautiful song. I also was thinking of redemption songs by Bob Marley. So those are just some songs that have been in my heart from recent events. Certainly, I in general love rock and roll, and there's always some Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin tune or something like that. I guess I'm a classic rock person that, it's just great to have something that takes you to a different place and lets you express yourself. And that's been my go-to sanity measure in these times.
Yeah, we all need some of that. I love that. So what we have to make sure we do when we share this is also send with it some links so folks can see your band.
Yeah, and too bad with Summerfest this year. I was expecting it though. I didn't know how they were going to do social distancing at Summerfest. But certainly I am active in Young Presidents Organization, YPO, and I work in the music network for that. And we're working on bringing music virtually to different people, and hopefully even through the leaders to their organizations, and looking at doing that for my own organization, like, virtual concerts or, musicians speaking about it, because you just find, and we're finding great reaction to that. People want to, tap into something outside of work right now. And I think as leaders, we have to think about the whole person. And we've got so much driving hard, so much coming at our people now from all sorts, from we had fear over healthcare. Now we've got fear over racial discrimination. We got fear, just fear and concerns. And we've got to think on the other side too, how do we just lift people up? How do we do that? There's deep ways to do it. And there's just good old fun. People, I've been trying to run some fun events. We had a kudos and karaoke call where we did kudos for people, and then we sang, had some songs where we changed the lyrics and made it fun, just to, keep people going. Everybody needs some food for their soul and their heart, and some laughing, and trying to combine it all in a respectful way, realizing that some of these issues are so serious that's not the time for it, but really trying to think of the whole person right now and how we keep people moving forward.
I think that's fantastic advice. Renee, thank you so much for, again, spending some time with me. Thank you for, demonstrating your fantastic leadership and sharing some of your wisdom. My personal wish for you, as it is for so many of the folks in my community and folks who aren't in my community, I wish for you some peace, and I wish for you some mental and emotional rest in this time, so that we can really affect the necessary and fair changes that I expect will be coming very, very soon.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity, Elmer. Thank you for the conversation. Certainly, it's great to just spontaneously talk about things, and I'll be continuing the dialogue and knowing that we're all learning.
And learning some more. Renee, thank you. I hope to see you soon, and I'm really grateful for just everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the GMC.